Hello, I am Sunny Singh. I am the founder and currently director of the Jhalak Prize for Book of the Year by a Writer of Colour. We are delighted to be here as part of this online South Asian Lit Fest. And today I'm going to be talking to the woman who wrote this incredible book, Asha and the Spirit Bird. It's by Jasbinder Bilan. It was on the long list for the Jhalak Prize for 2020, and it has been an absolute joy reading it. Anita Sethi, who is one of the judges, said right away, she said, "This is the first time my niece can see her name on a book." So her niece loved it, and we all loved it. And it's magical, and it's wonderful, and it's courageous. It's all those good things that children's books or young adult books. I'm not quite sure where. Is it middle grade, I think, should be. So welcome, Jazz. So let's start with the book. You've got it brilliantly, that amazing image behind you. Tell us about the book. Tell us how it came about, what happened, how did you get here?
Yeah, so Asha and the Spirit Bird is about a girl called Asha who is 11 years old, and she lives in the foothills of the Himalaya. And her father has to go and work in the city of Zandapur. And she decides that she needs to cross the mountains and go and find him. And she goes with her best friend because for quite a little time, for a few months, her father's letters have stopped and the money that he sent has stopped, and nobody knows what's happened to him. So she takes it on herself to go on this really kind of arduous journey through the mountains. And throughout this journey, she's guided by the spirit of her grandmother in the form of a lammergeier, a Himalayan bird of prey. This is my debut. It's my very first book, and I wrote it when I was studying on the MA Creative Writing at Bath Spa University. Writing is something that I always loved to do as a little girl, you know. It's kind of, even before I started writing properly or went to school, I just sort of used to take a pen and write over everything, you know, just sort of pretending I was writing stories. And it's kind of incredible in a way, you know, that I always loved writing, but it's taken a long time. It took me a long time to I guess kind of decide. First of all, I think I had to kind of make a commitment to leave my job as a teacher temporarily and do the MA Creative Writing for a year. So it was part of my dissertation, and it was kind of like it was a very huge deal for me, and I hadn't been part of any writing groups. I hadn't really, I'd always written bits and pieces, poetry and that sort of thing, but I'd never written a complete book, and I'd never shown anybody my work. So it was kind of like a really a sort of a big kind of personal journey to first of all commit to doing the course, and then to write a story from beginning to end. And I have to say that being in that environment of being on the MA with other writers, with the tutors, that was key for me. You know, it was key for me in starting a book and finishing a book. So I kind of wrote it in probably about 6 months for the dissertation part, and then I edited it sort of by myself, kind of with a little bit of advice from you know, my fellow sort of people on the course, and then I entered it for the Times Chicken House Prize, and that's how it came to be published, because I didn't imagine in my wildest dreams that I would win, but I won the Times Chicken House Prize in 2017, and that's how it became published.
Now, this is really, I grew up in the Himalayas.
Oh, wow.
This was really personal for me when I was reading it, and there were these descriptions, and I was like, I know, these are my mountains, you know. I remember as a child, the only mountains that showed up in Western books were the Swiss Alps, and it was Heidi, which I wasn't particularly fond of. And but I was in India, so I was lucky because Ruskin Bond was there, and he wrote children's books, and he still does. And he wrote about my mountains. So I had that real moment of just reading it, going, these are, you know, all the things you mention are very, very familiar to me. So tell me how you set it in the Himalayas, why, how, you know, which part did you have in your mind, if at all, or it was just, you know?
Yeah, it's. I think it was quite strange in a way, because when, as I say, I was on the MA, and at some point you have to commit and you have to decide what your story is going to be. And throughout, we kind of used to do 1,200 word pieces that you know, that maybe you would pick for doing your main piece of work. And throughout that time, there wasn't a single piece that I did which reflected my background, or it was very, very kind of strange. But every time we did something, it would be a story set here, and it would have a white protagonist, you know. That's just how it kind of happened. But then when it came to writing the story that I was going to really be something special to me, I suppose, then at that point you start to really reflect on things, and that's where I just kind of knew straight away that I wanted to write a story that was based on my family roots in India. And I was very little when I moved to the UK with my family. I was 1.5 years, so I was still a baby. So I don't have any kind of real memories, my own memories of that time. But I was really, really close to my Margie, my grandma. And she used to tell us stories. And when we had big family gatherings, we used to share stories about our farm in India. And so I think it was a kind of a whole mix of sort of like a muscle memory of India that, you know, that was kind of filtered through stories. A big part of it is imagination, and also I think that kind of heart of the story, which is about Asha and her Naniji, was really, really kind of special to me. And all the way through it, I felt like my Margie was there with me, guiding me to kind of write this story. And I'd never, you know, growing up, I loved to read, and, you know, my dad took us to the library, and we were big readers in our family. But I never read a book with somebody like me as the main character, or a story that would kind of celebrate my background or anything like that. There were no stories like that. So it was kind of like a huge honor, and it was something that I really felt pushed to do, you know, just not in a conscious way, but actually in a subconscious way.
It's quite funny that you say that, because of course you were longlisted for the Jhalak Prize, yeah, with this wonderful book. And the Jhalak Prize is named after my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's named after my nanny, my Margie. So it's quite strange, these little connections that seem to come together. I always find these really lovely. So what has that been like? Because of course the Jhalak Prize is not quite like being on any other long list. It's got literary fiction, it's got poetry, it's got this vast range of people and genres across the board. What's that been like for you?
Well, I was really kind of surprised, I suppose, and really kind of honoured, because it's a prize that highlights authors of colour, and to be picked out of all, you know, the kind of like vast number of people that are out there, I just felt really grateful. And I think the whole kind of ethos of the Jhalak Prize is great. It's kind of showcasing writers of colour, it's kind of putting them centre stage, and I think it's also a sense that the judges are kind of a part of that part of the family in a way. You know, they kind of get your story straight away. And I think this was perhaps kind of one of the things when I was looking for publication and looking for an agent. The sort of the landscape is very white, and I know there's been a lot of work done on it more recently, but I think to kind of read something like you say, you know, you kind of took the book and you see it, and straight away it kind of resonates with you, and I think that that's something that the Jhalak Prize, that is really kind of special to the Jhalak Prize. So I was hugely grateful to be on the long list.
And you know, you do have the most amazing publisher. Chicken House just do such wonderful work. So now for my last question, I'm going to ask you about what comes next, because I know there's a lot of children out there, and a few adults, i.e. me, and I'm sure some of our judges, who want to see another book. What happens?
So yeah, so I have just kind of put the final touches on book 2, and it's called Tamarind and the Star of Ishtar. It's another story set in the Himalaya, and it's another magical story, but it's quite different to Asha in some ways. It retains the sort of some similarities in the sense of the magic, but this time it's about 11-year-old Tamarind, who lives in Bristol, and she returns to her grand family home, which is in the Himalaya. And when she's there, she discovers a magical garden, and she meets a mysterious mountain girl and her very cute monkey, Hanu. And I kind of like, when we grew up, we had a sort of a wild monkey that adopted us, who kind of came to our farm, and so I kind of I've managed to shoehorn Omar, our monkey, in there, so I was really pleased about that. So it's a story about uncovering family secrets, because Tamarind's mother died when Tamarind was a baby, and it's all been kind of covered in sort of mystery. Her father took her back to England, who's from England, and that's where she's been raised. So she's a British girl, and it's a kind of a voyage of discovery for her about who she is and the important things in life. She also, a very lovely thing that is in the story is she finds a box of treasures of her mother's when she's there at the house, and she has a ring, a really special Himalayan emerald ring that has magical powers, which I was kind of really excited to write about as well.
Oh,
so
that's
the story.
That sounds amazing. I also love the fact that it's a kind of a writing back to things like The Secret Garden, which is another one of the books I hate, by the way. Hated it as a child, hated it now, probably more. So I can't wait for this one. And I just, yes, I love all of it. Thank you. When is it out? Just so we can put it on our calendar.
It's out on the 3rd of September this year, so it's 2020. It's coming soon.
Coming soon. So definitely we will keep a tap on that. September, make sure we've got Tamarind, on our list of people we need to see. So thank you, Jess, for joining us. Much appreciated. It's been really a brilliant pleasure. So
thank you so much.